In our lesson today, you're going to have some practice with unit conversions, and a lot of the helpful conversions that we're going to use are going to be found right up here. So when you're reading through the problems, try to see, is there a conversion that we can use that can get us right away to what we're looking for, or are we going to have to use a few of these in order to make our conversion? In the first question, they're asking us, how many miles are there in 16,280 yards? And so what I want to know, is there a conversion that can get me from miles into yards? And I look up into my list and I see right here that I'm told that 1 mile equals 1,760 yards. And so what I'm going to do, I'm going to set this up algebraically. I'm going to set up a multiplication problem here, where I'm going to take my 16,280 and I'm going to include the yards label on there. I always want you to include your labels. I'm just going to put that over 1, and I'm going to multiply that by that conversion that I was told right here. Now I'm going to set it up in such a way where I can eliminate a couple of my units here. Since I have yards up here in the numerator, I'm going to put the yards down here in the denominator, and that'll make sense in just a moment. 1,760 yards, and that was the same as 1 mile. And the reason why I set it up the way that I did here is because I can do a little bit of simplifying. The yards in the numerator here can cancel with the yards in the denominator down here, and so the only units that I'm looking at now are the miles, and I was trying to figure out how many miles were there in 16,280 yards. And so now what I have to do, if I go through and I do this multiplication, well, I'm going to have 16,280, and now it's miles. But in my denominator, I have 1,760. And so to answer this question, I'm going to do that division. 16,280 divided by 1,760. And if you were to punch that into your calculator, that would give you an answer of 9 25/100, or 9 1/4 miles. So through this conversion, all right, I was able to find out that in 16,280 yards, there's 9 1/4 miles. In the second problem, we're told that the new hybrid cars get 65 miles per gallon. How many miles can you drive with 5 gallons of gas? Okay, and so our key to solving this problem is what we're told right here, that the car can get 65 miles per gallon. So I'm going to do a similar setup with what I did with the first example. I'm going to start by putting my 65 miles over 1 gallon. Okay, I get 65 miles per gallon with the car, and I want to know how many miles can you get if you have 5 gallons of gas. So I'm going to multiply now by the 5 gallons over 1. And again, this setup is useful now because now I can cancel out these units, gallons in the denominator with gallons in the numerator, and so my only units left are now the miles. And so I was trying to figure out how many miles I could drive. So all I have to do is this multiplication now. 65 times 5, well, that's going to give me 325 miles. Okay, and the denominator is just 1 times 1, so it would have been 325 over 1, which is still 325. So it's 65, if you get 65 miles per gallon and you have 5 gallons of gas, you would be able to drive 325 miles. In the third example, we're told that a person runs 450 yards in 100 seconds. Now this is a two-part problem. They want to know how fast is their speed in yards per second, and then how fast is their speed in yards per minute. So we're going to start with the yards per second, and we're told right here that they get 450 yards in 100 seconds. So we're going to write that down. 450 yards in 100 seconds. And we want to know what's their speed in yards per second. So I want to know how far could they go in just 1 second. Okay, well, in order to figure that out, I'm going to do this division here. 450 divided by 100, that's going to tell me how many yards they would be able to go in 1 second. And if you were to do that division, 450 divided by 100, they can go 4.5 yards per second. So that's their speed in yards per second. They can go 4.5 yards per second. Now we're going to use that to answer the second part. How far could they go per minute? And so I just found out from the first part, they can go 4.5 yards per second in 1 second. In order to convert that into minutes, I'm going to multiply this now by 60 seconds. There's 60 seconds in our 1 minute. We know that. And now I can simplify seconds with seconds, leaving me only with the yards per minute. And if you multiply 4.5 by 60, that would give you 270. So they go 270 yards per minute. In the fourth example, we want to know how many liters are in 37 thousandths of a quart. And so looking back up here at my list, there's actually a couple of conversions that are going to be helpful here. If I look at these two, I know that a gallon is equal to 4 quarts, but I also know that a gallon is equal to 3 and 785 thousandths liters. And so technically then 4 quarts is the same as 3 and 785 thousandths liters. And so what I'm going to do when I set up my first initial ratio down here, that's what I'm going to do to set this up. There's 3.785 liters in a gallon, which is the same as 4 quarts. And in order to answer this question, I'm going to do the division so I can figure out how many liters there are in 1 quart. And so if I do 3 and 785 thousandths divided by 4, that gives me 0.94625 liters per quart. All right, so I know how many liters per quart there are now. So now I'm going to take that value, 0.94625 liters per quart, and I'm going to multiply that by the 37 thousandths quarts. I'll put that over 1. Quarts simplify with quarts, so we're left with the liters. And if you were to multiply this decimal by this decimal, we get a really long decimal here. We get 0.035011125 liters. So that's how many liters there are in 37 thousandths quarts. In example 5, we're told Dr. Gomez orders at least 900 grams of medication for a patient per day, and each pill contains 300 grams of the medicine. So how many pills will the patient need for a week? So we have a few different conversions that we're going to do here. We're going to start with what we were told here. Okay, they get 900 grams of the medication per day. Okay, and we're told that 1 pill contains 300 grams of the medication. And I set it up this way so that I could simplify the grams with the grams, leaving me with how many pills per day that they're going to need. Okay, but I also am going to have to figure out how many pills they're going to need for a week. So now I'm going to also multiply this by 7 days that are in our 1 week. And so my days can simplify with my days, and now I'm going to be left with pills per week, which is what I'm trying to answer. Okay, and so what I can do here, I can do my multiplications. I'm going to have my 900ths times the 7, and when we multiply 900ths by 7, that gives me 63 hundredths, and the units up here are pills. And in the denominator, I have a 1 and 1, but I still have that 3 hundredths, and that's in my weeks. And so to figure out how many pills per week, I'm just going to do this division now. I'm going to do 63 hundredths divided by 3 hundredths, and that's going to give me 21 pills per week. In number 6, we're asking how many grams are in 397 thousandths pounds. And if you look at your conversion chart on the front, we're told that 1 kilogram is equal to 2 2/10 pounds. So we're going to start there. 1 kilogram is the same as 2 2/10 pounds. Okay. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to see if I can convert this into grams, because that's what we're looking for. Well, we know that there are 1,000 grams in 1 kilogram. Okay. And so this is going to help me to eliminate my kilograms. So now I'm in grams and pounds. And they wanted to know how many grams are in that many pounds. And so I'm going to multiply by that number of pounds. That's my pounds, and I'm going to put that over 1. So now my pounds in the denominator simplify with those pounds here, leaving me with my number of grams. Okay, and so if I go ahead and I multiply, 1,000 times that number is 397, and that's my grams. And in the denominator, I have 2 2/10 times 1 times 1, which is 2 2/10. And now in order to answer the question, all I have to do is this division. And if we were to punch that into our calculator, 397 divided by 2 2/10, we're going to end up with a repeating decimal here, 180 and 45/100ths repeated. And again, that was our number of grams in 397 thousandths pounds. In number 7, we're told that apples sell for 43 cents a pound, and we want to know how much will 50 and 8/10 ounces of apples cost. And looking at our conversion chart on the front, we're told that 1 pound is the same as 16 ounces. 1 pound for every 16 ounces. Okay? And I also know that it's going to end up costing me 43 cents per pound. So I'm going to multiply this by my 43 cents per pound. So now I can cancel out my pounds and my pounds. And I wanted to know, well, how much would this many ounces of apples cost? So I'm going to multiply that now by the 50 and 8/10 ounces over 1 so that I can simplify my ounces with my ounces, leaving me with the amount of money I'm going to have to pay. Okay, so if I go ahead and I did this multiplication, okay, 50 and 8/10 times the 43 cents, that's going to give me 21 and 844 thousandths, and my units are dollars. In the denominator, I'm left with 16. So to answer my question, I'm going to do this division. And when I do the division, I get 1 and 36525. But remember, dealing with money here, well, this can't be a dollar amount. We have to round it to the nearest hundredths here. So this is going to be approximately $1.37. In question 8, we're told that gold costs $500 per ounce and a solid gold nugget is 64/100ths kilograms. How much would that be worth? So we're going to start here with the price given. It's $500 for an ounce of gold. $500 for an ounce. And we know that there are 16 ounces in a pound looking at our conversion. So we're going to have 16 ounces per pound. Okay, so my ounces can simplify with my ounces. Okay, but we still have to get to kilograms. And from the conversion chart, again, we're told that there are 2 and 2/10 pounds in 1 kilogram. So my pounds can simplify with my pounds now. Okay, and now in order to answer our question, we're going to multiply by our number of kilograms, 64/100ths kilograms over 1. So my kilograms can simplify with my kilograms, and now my units are just left in terms of dollars. So all I have to do, since my denominators are all 1, I just have to multiply these 4 numbers together. 500 times 16 times 2 and 2/10 times 64/100ths. And when I do all of that multiplication, that's going to give me 11,264, and the units were dollars. In the next question, we know that Sarah can study 20 pages per night, and each page has 3 homework problems. So if she studies for 3 nights, how many problems will she do? So we're going to start out with the rate given, 20 pages in a night. And we're going to multiply that by the 3 problems per page. 3 problems per page. And now my pages will simplify with my pages. And then I also am going to multiply that by the number of nights. She's going to work for 3 nights. 3 nights over 1. My nights simplify with the nights, so I'm left with my number of problems. So all I have to do is 20 times 3 times 3, which gives me 180 problems. In number 10, we're told that the doctor prescribes 30 milligrams of medicine per day. Each pill is 15 milligrams of medicine, so how much are needed for 7 days? So we set up our 15 milligrams per pill. We multiply that by our 1 day. We need 30 milligrams, milligrams with milligrams. And then 1 week is 7 days. Days cancel with days.